Hello and welcome to Columbus Local Podcast. I'm Len D'Amico, and this is episode number 117. And this is going to be a personal one, because this is going to encapsulate what this podcast is all about. And tonight we have Doug Turlo.
Hello.
Doug.
Len D'Amico.
I'm a huge Doug Turlo fan, and here's the thing. So the thing about this, and Doug is a musician out of the Columbus area. He's got a fabulous story that we're going to talk about. Doug Turlo and I met, we think, about 40 years ago, give or take a year or two, because we can't remember. But I was a student at Ohio State at the time. And were you going to Ohio State?
Yeah, I was going to Ohio State too.
With Bill Mondello.
Bill Mondello?
From Westerville, who was a neighbor of mine, who turned me on to the Limited, and you were working at the Limited, and we were the swing shift crew at Limited Distribution Services on Morse Road in 270 in give or take 1983-ish.
83, 4, 5, 6. My last year there was 87. So
that's when we met. And, you can witness my fandom of being interested in local music even at that day, right? Like we were, 20 years old, if?
Yeah, right there, 22, 23, yeah.
And, Doug Turlo today is a businessman. He's an entrepreneur. He runs a company. And we want to shout that out?
Home Central Realty. If you're looking to buy or sell, give me a call.
Yes. We'll put a link in the episode. And Doug's a responsible guy, but he is still interweaving the priority of local music and recording and producing music to even today. But flash back to 1984, and that's the last time Doug and I have had this type of a conversation.
Yeah, it's just so
and
crazy.
Bouncing right back to how excited I was that there's this thing called music that you can actually do out there. Being in a local band, you were looking like a rock star at 20 years old. Doug Turlo,
giving it a try. Big hair 80s.
Big hair 80s, blonde hair. You're still blonde today.
Yeah.
Down to your waist.
Not
long, but
past the shoulders.
Long haired at 1980, give or take, 82, 83, 84, 85.
Somewhere in there. Right. And the 80s are all long hair. It started in the 70s. Yep.
And I learned you were a bass player in a local rock band, and it just blew my mind.
The strange thing that I just learned is that while you were just, being finding your way in music at that point, you didn't start playing till 36 years old. That's a mind blower.
Oh, for me?
Yeah, for you.
Oh, yeah. Because my life priorities were different than yours, and that's what's cool about this episode is we can kind of compare and contrast. Not that we're comparing, but we have different life journeys where music is still interweaving within us. Me as a casual observer until I was 36, where I could finally kind of prioritize to learn how to play a stringed instrument, guitar, and got to dabble here and there. But for you, man, you were on that different track at that time. Our lives intersected over 40 years ago at the Limited as a booming, exciting company.
Yep.
We had plenty of opportunities there in the distribution center. And shout out to Bill Mondello.
Yeah.
I think he lives in Cincinnati.
Does he still have the white spot in his hair?
If he has any hair.
Oh, that's true. But he was always everybody thought he was the punker because he had that white brown hair and then a white spot. It's like, oh, he's a punk. And I wasn't born that way. So that's interesting.
It's so cool. And those were good times and in a very exciting time too. But you were in it, the thick, and you were on your way in music, and we're going to learn more about that. But before we jump all the way into all that, right? I thought, from your voice, you were kind of well established there for yourself as a player at a young age at 20 when I met you. But I obviously knew that you had been playing for a while, and you had been hooked into playing bass. Was that your first instrument, or how did music really start for you?
Believe it or not, I started on drums.
Oh, that's cool.
When I got to junior high, there was another drummer in the school, and they said, you guys should have a drum off and see who's better. And I watched him play a little bit, and it's like, you know what? I'm going to pick a different instrument because he was, significantly better than me. So natural thing for, tall guy, just, bass just seemed like the thing to do. And plus, being a drummer, bass, you're still holding that beat, it's up to the bass to get that beat going. So fell into bass. Me and him became, that's when we started the first of many bands and your first time playing together. But yeah, basically it started that way. And then for me, fortunately or unfortunately, I always ended up in trios.
Really?
I always wanted that, separate front man that could, just be out there and sing. But it was always trios. But that gave the drummer and myself the ability to really fill up that whole lower end, with whatever needed to be filled up at that moment in time with that kind of music. And then have that, the guitar player there on top.
Oh, for sure.
So, and, we never needed the rhythm guitar player either, which was kind of nice because then we were able to fill in whatever the rhythm guitar player would be doing. So needless to say, Rush and bands like that were our influence. And then, it was always fairly complicated bass and drums going on no matter what band we were playing in, no matter what style. If we were doing covers, it got a little more complicated than just the traditional cover. So,
oh, yeah. Oh, sure.
But yeah, so that's kind of how it started. Yeah, back in junior high, and then it just progressed from there. And ironically, I played with the same drummer, Keith Wells, for the majority of my life. I lived in Hollywood for 5 years, moved out there, tried to make it on my own. I don't know if I should go into the Hollywood.
Well, we will in a second.
Okay.
We will. Yeah, we'll jump to there. But but I think and we don't want. I want to belabor you're too young. But you played in some bands in Columbus. What were some of those bands, those early bands for you up until the point when I met you? I remembered the name U.S. Toys as the band, and I saw you playing at that club in Dublin on the Rocks, which I think.
I can't remember what it was called back then.
Back then, it might have been a different name. I'm in the same boat. But it was that club on France Road, and it was a good rock band. It was a good '80s rock band, U.S. Toys. But are there other names, or maybe prior to that, or was that really kind of the band that at least in my mind stuck out as you were playing in some higher end clubs?
That was
for
the main
right?
band. I mean, I was in a band in high school called Tracer. My buddy Keith, he was here in Columbus through junior high, and then he moved to Indiana for high school. So in high school, I played with a couple other players. Eric Solomon, he's a solo guitar player out there. He was in that band. Marty Vion and Danny Boyd. Danny Boyd actually played with
sure.
Gods and stuff. Yeah. So that was the high school band. And then when Keith moved back, that's when we started U.S. Toys.
Gotcha.
So, and that's where all through college, I was in that band and we were trying to make it and all that stuff. And
yep, and I saw you guys in Dublin, but I know you did. So when there was a point though where you played with them through a point in the '80s where it sounds like that band is that the band then where you guys packed up and moved to Cali?
I did.
What year? Okay.
That band, we had a manager, we had investors, we had the manager was Joe Robinson, who was a DJ at QFM at the time, and we had every connection you could want in Columbus. And remember, this is all pre-internet. This is all pre-internet.
So you had the radio.
Yeah.
You had QFM in Columbus behind a lot of good stuff coming out of Columbus.
Yeah, and we had that DJ would introduce us wherever we play. I mean, it was like we were semi-rock stars, except we would do half cover and half original, unless we were able to do all original. So most of the clubs around, I don't know if it's like that now, but they wanted covers. They wanted essentially all covers, and hey, you can do a couple originals, 2 or 3, and we were always like,
it's still that way.
It's still that way.
Most bands that are hired are playing covers for a club that's expecting that, a crowd that's expecting that for the most part. There are clubs though that enable original artists to perform.
Well, ironically, even the Alrosa, which was like the premier club, they still wanted covers. They wanted primarily covers. And we would always be, half and half. And they would have bands that would do, they would only have national bands that would do their own material. But even the bands that would come from out of town, like there was a band called Fairweather, and they were a Genesis cover band. So there was just different kinds of cover bands that would be coming through. But we were always, bound and determined we're going to do half and half. And that kind of kept us on the down low a little bit more than, we would hope. because people they want to hear the song they heard last night or yesterday on the radio or whatever, and that's what they want to dance to, and they don't want to learn a new song for the first time.
Right.
So, but yeah, we had our own following and all that, and we did as good as you can get here.
Yeah.
So,
And what year was that?
That was 83 to 87 about.
Yeah, 87. Yeah, geez.
Because 87 is when I went to California.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I may or may not have remembered. I think you sought me out at the Limited because I was walking those halls and I would run into you every now and then, I think. I remember around that time, you were headed out there. I may have heard that from maybe Bill Montello or somebody, but I remember when that happened. And so you went to California, and
Yeah.
who were you with then?
I was by myself.
Yeah.
I mean, the band, they were getting, everybody was comfortable here.
Yep.
And remember, this is before internet, and it was just,
Yeah.
But back then you had to be in the city, either New York, L.A., or Nashville for your country. If you're not in one of those three cities, you're not getting seen by anybody. So
You
I was like,
decided.
man, I'm going to go and I'm going to be a rock star. I'm not just going
Did
to live
you
in
pack a
Columbus.
bag? Did you drive out
Oh,
there?
yeah.
How'd you get out there?
My dad and I drove a U-Haul, my girlfriend at the time, and our cat. And then we all went out there. And I just got to tell you just one funny side
Yeah,
story.
no, that's really cool though. This is the kind of stuff that's like it's interesting because to me it's inspiring to do something like this in your life.
Well, the crazy thing about Hollywood, and it's crazy, and I'm sure it's still crazy now, but when we were taking our stuff out of the U-Haul and bringing it up to the apartment complex, it was one of these 3-story,
And you were able to
20
get
units.
a place to live out there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And the guy right next door comes out and introduces himself as a black guy. He's talking,
Yeah.
and he goes, "Oh, you're a bass player? Oh man, hey, I got a bass here. You can play this bass for a while."
Yeah.
And his name was Magic. And I found out he was a Sly Stone's coke dealer. I mean, but my dad, here, he's Columbus, Ohio,
Yeah.
and he's seen this guy Magic, giving me a bass to just play. He's like, "You got to watch out for that guy. Don't trust that guy at all." And then, I'd go over
That's
to,
good advice. Is that the only advice you got from your dad at that point? And then boom, you're out in the jungle of LA. That was it. Stay away from that guy.
or people like that. I mean, he just,
Gotcha.
don't
No,
take
that's
that
good
bass.
stuff.
Don't take that bass.
Yeah,
But
because
a guy gave me a bass to play for like 2 weeks. It's like, what the hell? And then, when I'd go to his, he'd, say, "Yeah, man, come on in." He'd have his door open, and he'd be, doing up lines on this thing, and it's like, man, I think he was trying to get me to either become a client or something. But it was, I mean, that's Hollywood. I mean, there's just so much crazy shit in Hollywood all the time, 24/7.
Wow.
And the one thing, and I'm not going to talk about that there that much, but
You can if you want. I mean, there's a lot of exciting stories that came out of California, especially with guys that like yourself that went out there to with a goal to keep moving forward into the music as far as you can go. And we want to hear that story. But there's a lot of adventures there.
well, the interesting thing about there is whatever band is hitting big, and I watched Poison was like at the kind of the running the tail end, and Guns N' Roses came in when I was out there, like right the first year I was out there, and then at the end Chili Peppers were coming in. But when Guns N' Roses came in, they kind of changed the whole thing. All of a sudden the makeup's gone, the big hair's gone. Well, they had still
Just
big hair,
street, though.
but
More
it's street.
street.
Yeah, it went from the glam, the tight pants to jeans, and the
To
leather.
street, yeah.
And then every band, it was like there was 200, 300, 500 bands out there. They were all the hair bands, and then they all turned to street. And it's just like, wow, you can just see it in real time change. Like within 3 months, every band has changed their look.
Wow.
And then the other thing that happens is the labels, like once a month, some new band's coming out. And there's always, there was a band called Little Caesar, which actually just played at the Picktown Palooza last week.
That's cool.
But they were going to be the bigger than Guns N' Roses. And then when Red Hot Chili Peppers came out, there's a band there. I actually sold one of my basses to the guy in a band called Electric Love Hogs. And they were going to be bigger than Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Right.
So the labels, they find that one band that's hitting it, and when the Chili Peppers came out, all of a sudden everybody changed to that look and to that style. I mean, it's just hilarious.
Under the bridge.
Yeah, it's just hilarious how it just changes, and all these bands that were one way or another, then all of a sudden they're just a different way.
And then grunge.
And then grunge,
Eventually, right?
Yeah, I'm sure it all turned to grunge. I was back in Ohio when Nirvana just started hitting. I mean, I was like literally right back here that first year. And then Nirvana hit. I'm sure LA changed. Now it's all grunge.
So late 80s, you hit LA.
Yeah.
And you were out there with your girlfriend.
Yep.
And your cat. What was a typical day like out there? Were you full-time musician?
Oh, no.
Gigging? Or what was your day like for you?
So I parked cars, because I had long hair. Even though I had a college degree, there was no way to get a job because back in the 80s, if you had long hair, you're not working in an office.
I was the guy with the short hair and the Nina Cerruti suits back at the Limited at the time that you were, doing these things. So, the clean cut look was definitely the corporate thing, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
So I couldn't have
school in that way. Your school in LA this way. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah. So, we would both, work during the day, and then we'd go out every weekend, to see bands. And then I was auditioning for bands continuously. I joined a couple different bands out there, played, a few gigs here and there. Now, when you play a gig in LA, you go to the club and they say, okay, you can buy 100 tickets for $8 each. So you have to pay $800. You want to play like at the Roxy. We played at the Roxy one time. And now you can't sell those tickets because there's 4 other bands and they're also buying those tickets. And they're also trying to get rid of. So you're basically paying to play. I mean, the pay to play really does exist. When you go to the club and you say, hey, I'm playing here tonight. I need to unload. Where should I park? Well, you can park in this lot and it's $10. And this is in the 80s. This money, just adjust it for inflation. So it's like, really? I have to pay to unload my gear? Or they said, or you can park in the street, whichever. And you can't park in the street in LA. If you park in the street in LA, leave your door open and walk 10 feet, somebody's stealing shit out of your car.
Right.
I mean, if you pulled in the 7-Eleven and parked in the first spot, you still lock your door. So, and then you go in there and you go, was there a dressing room or somewhere where you can change? You can rent a dressing room. It's like $40 a night.
So it's a racket.
Oh, it's a complete racket. I mean, everybody's looking for whatever way they can skim money off of whoever's got money. And then you go, can I get a drink? Gotta go water. Oh, you can sell you water.
$5.
Because a lot of these clubs had drink minimums, like 2 or 3 drink minimums. And then it doesn't matter what you're drinking. Even if you're drinking water, you're paying $5 or whatever it is.
Right.
So that's LA in a nutshell. And then the one thing I always tell everybody is to make it in LA or make it anywhere, you have to have 100 pieces of the puzzle. If you have 99, you're out of luck. You have to have all 100 pieces. Everything just has to fall
Put
in.
it all together.
Because there are so many great players out there. I mean, there's this unbelievable talent. And you look at these people and you go, man, any one of these people could be just, hugely famous. But it's just luck of the draw.
Yeah.
And I did one last thing. I did audition. Well, I went to the audition for Ozzy Osbourne.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I got a call that he was gonna, he was looking for a bass player.
You're in LA.
And
who calls you for that audition opportunity?
Well, LA had a magazine called Music Connection, and you'd put bassists available, guitar player available, or bands looking for individual people or whatever. So somebody called on my bassist available, and they might have heard from somebody else or whatever. Mm-hmm. But now I got the call the night before. And I'm thinking, okay, I know one song. I know Paranoid. I brushed it up, thought, well, I guess I'll go play Paranoid. Now I get there, and there's like 20 people there, and they're all the rock stars from L.A. They're all the big guys from L.A. And they're all playing 3 songs. And I'm going, well, shit, nobody told me about it.
You got one. You didn't get the memo.
I didn't get the memo. So and one guy came in, and he was like this huge band in LA. Just got all these superstars, and him and Zakk Wylde like hugged and everything. And I'm thinking, this guy's got it. I mean, he's already a superstar. So I thought, well, I'm not even going to stick around for it. I did meet Ozzy, and I met the drummer. They all walked in, shook hands, and Ozzy said, "Oh, where are you from?" Hollywood. Oh, thanks for coming to the Valley, and all that. So it was kind of cool there.
Yeah.
But I heard these guys playing, and and they're all doing great. And the irony is, Mike Inez, who got the gig, I saw him, and he was he was in a band out there, and I didn't think he would get it. I thought for sure this one guy would get it.
Sure.
And but that Mike Inez ended up getting it. So I thought, damn, I probably should have at least stuck around and said, can I play Paranoid? But it was. So
the inner voice said that was probably you were good there, right? Like that was you had a conversation with Ozzy, and that's freaking awesome, right?
Oh yeah.
And
Zach Wild. Yeah, I mean, they all walked in. They all shook everybody's hand.
All
you
of
know,
them did that. Yeah, that's interesting to know that. That's cool.
But yeah, they literally.
That.
It was a stable
that level
of
manners.
But it was a stable of the best bass players in LA. You know, I mean, it was just, you know, all the other guys that were there. I'm thinking, you know, how did I even get the call? You know, because you know, they were either in other bands, they were in bands that were already on labels before. I mean, you know, there was just
you just never know, man.
Yeah, you just never know.
You just never know, I guess.
Yeah,
that's pretty sweet.
So that's basically LA in a nutshell.
So after that,
times.
did you hang in LA for a while, or did you make the decision to move to Ohio for other reasons?
Well, my wife at the time, her grandmother, her mother had a home. Her grandmother had a home, and she passed away. And there was a home sitting here vacant. And I was 5 years out there, and it was like, man, you know, I'm 28, and you know, it's a young person's game. I mean, if you're not doing something by 25, you know, you're starting, oh, that guy's kind of old at 28. You know, 30 is the kiss of death. You know, at least back then. So we decided to come back here, and then. I basically stopped music for a little while.
Yeah,
and then
rerouted, huh?
Yeah, and then you know, try to find work and do all that, and then my buddy Keith, we started, you know, talking again, and then we started another band in the late '90s called Dead Happy, and that also had a Ralph Rourke as the singer, and trio, of course.
Yeah. No, did you guys release material?
Yeah, Dead Happy. We had one CD, and it's actually on that Dead Happy Music channel on YouTube. Or
awesome.
I guess I have a link on this.
Yeah, we'll do that.
So that was our one CD. I think we had 11 songs on there, and we did another demo after that. But you know, this again is way before iPhones, way before the easy recording. This is when you had to go to the studio. You had to pay the big dollars. So it was, you know, not as easy back then as it is now to make music and get it recorded and get it out there. So unfortunately, like the last recorded stuff I ever have, other than stuff that that I've done subsequent to any of that stuff, any of the real bands, was all done anciently before internet.
Yeah, I gotcha.
So the people my age, you know, they'll remember those days, but anybody young, they're like, what's before internet? You know, you couldn't just pull out your phone and record shit? You know, nope.
Can't you just listen to it on a streamer?
I mean, you had radio, or you had to buy the CD or album,
or the vinyl,
or cassette. Yeah,
the vinyl. And I still listen. Beth and I have vinyl collections. We still listen to it when our turntable is, operating appropriately. But no, vinyl is cool. Vinyl is really cool.
Yeah, I mean, the ease of stuff too. Now is nice. You know, I mean, I record stuff to my phone now, and I mean, it's a whole different world. You know, a whole different world of what you can. You know, you can listen to anything you want at any moment in time. Back then, you were, you know, a slave to the radio. You know, okay, at 4 p.m. they're going to play the top 10. You know, so I'm going to listen at 4 p.m. so I can hear that song one time, and maybe I can get a cassette recorder and record it on a cassette so I can listen to it again. You know, obviously the quality that at that point is like, you know, you got a frequency span of about 2,000 to 5,000 hertz or something, or 800 to 4. You know, I mean, there was no sonic quality whatsoever. But yeah, you had to do that in order to hear the songs you wanted to hear. So yeah, it was crazy. And then you'd buy the record, and then you listen to that over and over and over again. No videos, just listen to the music. But really, you know, I mean, I'm that old person that says I'm glad I grew up in that era. Probably you are too. That.
Oh my God!
You know, because you really.
It's a great time to be immersed in music.
Yeah, and you know, when you listen to an album, you're listening to an album.
Yeah.
You know, you're reading the liner notes that you already read 50 times, or the lyrics or something on the album cover, and that's it. You know, so you really get into it, as opposed to, you know, now you're looking at everything's got a video, and it's just a different ball game. You know?
Totally different ball game.
Yeah.
Yeah. Foreign objects. AI is going to throw another spin at it.
No, absolutely. Yeah. It's got. I guess there's fake band out there now that's like getting popular or something.
That's wild. So the years of Dead Happy. What was that span, or is it still going?
That was about 95 through early 2000s, and then we did the same thing. You know, we played the clubs, played the all the different clubs, and we still did half originals. So you know, we still had that stigma to us that that's the band that wants to play originals. You know.
Yeah, but they played some covers.
We did play some covers, yeah.
And the originals sounded like covers.
Yeah.
It was a good groove. The girls were dancing. And
They knew
you guys were getting booked, right?
Yeah.
Where were you guys playing? In the early 2000s ish.
It'd be Alrosa, and then the various clubs on campus we'd actually play. We played Bernie's, we played Mr. Brown's, if you remember that.
Yeah.
There was another one. Oh, geez, Chelsea's.
Yeah.
So we were trying to kind of even. I can't think of it. But yeah, we played both campus and the rock clubs, which was kind of a little bit different because we were hard, but it was had a little bit of a twist to it. So we could try to play anywhere. But again, half covers, so that's kind of the kiss of death there. We did have our hardcore fans that would come out, and then we did that one CD. We had a manager guy, we had a label guy that wanted to, try to get us signed, or not. What was a person who had contacts at labels? Is that that's how it worked back then.
Oh, wow.
So we had people pushing for us, and then ultimately nothing happened, and then kind of that one petered out, and then after that, Keith Wells, the drummer, he built studios in his house. He had a couple different houses and he built studios, and then we started just recording, and we've probably done at least 25 songs now, just recording whenever we have the chance. And he's really taken his game up on the recording side, and he's got just a great studio. So I'm still playing, I still go over there about once every 2 weeks or so, and then we're always working on something.
Yeah, what kind? Are you all genres, or what type of music are you guys doing?
Pretty much all genres, from
That's really cool.
heavy, because we're the only ones that hear it. We're the only ones that hear it, so we can do whatever we want.
Yeah. I'm
And,
just curious though, like what you guys do.
It's everything from pure pop to heavy to my new fave, drum and bass, and that's going to be our next focus. Is going to be drum and bass because. He's getting a little old to be playing the drums, and unless he's in a band, he's not practicing, and then he don't want to play because he's a perfectionist. So he's like, man, I can't do it justice, So it's like, okay. So now we're working with drum machines, and we're going heavy in drum and bass, and that's that's like my genre. I love that genre, and can't get enough of it, and now I can start recording it. So,
yeah. So when you record though, what are you performing? What items are you performing? What instruments? What aspects of the music do you personally perform? And what are they?
Well, actually, from when we started, playing regular, he would be playing drums, and then I'd play everything else. So I'd play bass, guitar, I'd do the vocals. If there was keyboards, I'd do the keys, and then he would do the final mix, and he'd throw stuff in on the mix. He'd come up with things here and there. But basically, I had to play everything. Now, for a while, we did some recording with Grant Gilkey. He's a great guitar player, so obviously he was playing guitar at that point, and we wrote some songs. Just us three together, and they turned out pretty good. And instrumentals, there were no vocals on that because Grant's a good enough guitar player to fill in all the don't need vocals.
Carry that melody line, absolutely.
Yeah. So
and rhythm.
So that was fun, and then so basically I hate to say it, but man, I'm in a great situation because I write most of it, I write the lyrics, I write everything, and then I get to record it, with Keith doing the knobs, and he's got a great setup. So man, it's great for me. Whatever song I come up with. Now he's got his own ideas. He'll throw in a little bit of ideas here.
Sure.
And, hey, how would we change this there? But for a songwriter, it's just absolute freedom to do whatever I want, come up with whatever part I want.
It's so cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool indeed.
So and we're still doing it now. I'll probably go over there next week, and we're starting a new song, a new drum and bass song, and I'm actually going to play real bass on it, which is kind of fun. Drum machine, but
I'd love to hear
bass.
that, man.
Yeah. So it'll take a little while because. At this point, how we record is we'll get one thing down, like the drums. Then I'll get the bass track down next. Then I'll think of the part for what's ever going to come next. And then
that's exactly how I write stuff. I have the melody stuff that I've done in the past, but I'm always after that drum line, and then I'm like, ooh, that's what I hear, bass line, and then everything else after that. That's interesting. You have that same approach. I'd love to hear you. Are you releasing any of your material at all?
No, but I might end up putting it on YouTube because I did that once with the Dead Happy stuff. Ralph, the singer, he really wanted me to get that stuff out there so other people can hear it, and so I learned how to do it. I'm first to admit I'm not a tech genius, but I think I could probably get YouTube figured out again for at least for the stuff with Keith that I've been doing.
Yeah.
Because right now it's only me, him, and who I play it for that hears it.
Yeah.
And it would be nice if anybody wanted to hear it, I guess.
Are you playing out live at all?
No.
Any desire to do that, Doug?
Not really. I mean, 62. I don't know. I mean, Len's doing it. Len's out there.
Len's been doing it less than a year.
Yeah, still at 62.
But I love doing it though. I do, and I'm happy to do it because it's helping people. It's helping these bands, further their craft.
Yeah.
And they want that bass line. I'm able to keep up so far, so to speak. So that's where I'm at. But for you, dude, you've been playing this your whole life.
For me, the thing with cover bands, and Keith, he's been in cover bands left and right, and he always, whichever he gets in one, he's like, you want to come on, come on, man, let's just do it. But then I have to learn like 40 songs, and I'd rather just write my own and record my own. So I'm kind of selfish in that way. It's
You're
like
in a different spot.
Okay, I can learn.
This town needs good bass players, Doug. It does.
That's what I heard. But,
and you're a pro, man.
I can hold my own. Bass. I can.
And you
hold my
have
own.
pro gear.
I do have pro gear. Yeah.
What's your axe of choice?
Fender PJ is my favorite.
PJ.
Yeah, you get the precision pickup, the jazz bass pickup,
yep.
And it's just.
I love that bass design. I do. I feel you on that.
You can get any sound you want, and other than that, Fender Precision or Fender Jazz. I mean, it's just the classic sound. I've gone through so much bass gear in my life. I'd buy whatever bass I'd get, and I'd take the pickups out, take everything out, rechange it.
And go back to the same tone that you always wanted to play.
Yeah. I mean, but I did the whole active electronics on every bass I had. I had the Bartolinis, all these fancy setups, and now I've taken all the actives out, and I'm down to
Just
back
passive.
to passive because the active, if you're a bass player, you know what I'm talking about. But yeah, the
I know
sound,
exactly what you're talking about, and I haven't graduated to active pickup. I guess that I'm barely out of the womb.
Well, stay
But
where you're
again,
at, because
where
I came
you
full
are.
circle. I came full circle.
I hear that too. I do. And I think it also depends on the type of music that you play too, right?
Very true. Depends on the type of music. Yeah. I mean, some of the bass, that when I had the active electronics, I mean, you can really get that super glassy high end, that super, scoop all the mids out, and
Oh yeah.
yeah, so you can get really fancy sounds, but when it comes right down to it, there's a Fender Precision or a Fender Jazz that's going to get you where you want to go every time.
Toasty and harmonic.
Yeah,
That's what I go
musical
for.
and
musical.
Somebody
yes.
once said, this instrument's musical, and I thought, that's a great term because that's what some instruments are technical.
I think if you're doing it right, well, you know what? Define right. Okay, right to my ear is musical, and it's harmonic, and it's leveraging all of those frequency ranges that the instrument itself is capable of doing, which I'm sure, masters like yourself can really squeeze out of that instrument, that bass. And I love to hear a guy play like that. And I've heard a couple of players like at El Dorado's in Columbus that just sit there and just do that all through their set, and I'm just blown away by their abilities, And I suspect you're one of those players too, Doug. Where when the song or the opportunity or the need for it arises, you can do that. But for the most part, bass and drum, electronic, beat, fast, rhythmic, rhythms, I think is where you've kind of graduated to live, is it not?
Yep, that's
Dubstep and just kind of clubbing and feeling all that energy. It's very energizing.
Well, being a bass player, I love bass. I've got subwoofers on everything I have. Whether it's computer, no matter what it is, there's a subwoofer. Len's got one there.
There's
too.
one there. There's two in the living room. There's one in each bedroom. There's one over here.
Yeah.
There's a lot of subs.
Because you're a bass player, Len. That's why. Yeah.
Well, I guess I didn't realize it until later in life, but I got a late start.
Yeah,
Here I am.
Once it gets in you, it never leaves.
I
And you
took
want
a
that
black
bass.
hole left turn at Albuquerque on bass, brother. Trust me. And I'm still, there's so much. It'll be the rest of my life, and I love that about the journey. I do.
Yeah, and people downplay bass, but you can really, if you're a musical player, it makes all the difference in the world. And the note choice is so important. Especially when you're writing, or even if you're coming up with your own part on a cover, you can just make one note choice completely elevates the song to a different level.
Yeah, it can, and it's a low frequency range that's in the same harmonic capacities of whatever else is going on with the guitar player and sometimes the cymbals of the drums. Just all of that is it's just so much more visible, I think, to a bass player than anybody else in the band.
Well, bass player.
Because you have to be aware of everything going on.
Yeah.
How about you? I mean, that's how I approach it. It amazed me. It shocked me.
Well, it's always the pocket. The pocket where the drum and the bass come together. If you got that pocket, it almost doesn't matter what's on top. People are going to dance, and people are going to love what they're hearing.
Yep.
Then the gloss on the top, that's all good stuff. And but yeah, and if you're in a band with all the great gloss and great singers and great everything, but there's no pocket, you'll see the crowd just standing there because the pocket is everything. You got to get that groove going, got to get those feet moving, and that's where the bass player really shines.
Mm-hmm.
Either or shines or doesn't shine. But yeah, the pocket, it's between the drum and the bass, and the bass player has to lock in with the drummer. So that's where that's the bass player's job, is kind of lock in with that foot pedal, the kick drum.
Oh yeah.
And once you get that going, then that's beautiful.
It is beautiful.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful thing. The dance, I call it.
Yeah. Yeah. And go bass players. I mean,
Absolutely, Doug Turlo. Absolutely.
I do play guitar, but
okay.
But I'm a bass player that plays guitar, and you can always tell a guitar player playing bass or a bass player playing guitar. I can pick it out in a heartbeat.
Really?
That guy's a guitar player playing bass, or that guy's a bass player playing guitar. The bass we have, we work within like 2 frets a lot.
Right.
Or guitar players are working within 8 frets or something.
All that, yeah.
So
6 strings.
Yeah, you see those bass players playing guitar, and their leads are pretty darn
low.
Yeah.
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 A lot of low bands. That's me. I guess I've always been a bass player. People probably been aware of that never really pushed me into actually doing it. I do give Frank Loggery a lot of credit. The gentleman that I played with in a cover band, Days Gone By, for 9 years. He was a co-founding member. I played with them, I think 7 years actually, and I had just the absolute best time with those guys. But Frank kind of very subtly showed me that I could, despite my personal preferences on, not really wanting to play live anymore. He said, you could probably do it if you played bass, man. Columbus needs some musical bass players, and so I give it a shot, But he did encourage me a lot, and he kind of gave me some help too. Who were some of the people that you feel encouraged you?
Boy, that's an interesting question. Because not many did.
I'm
just thinking like my parents, they were kind of not
encouraging you, or they weren't happy about your direction. What about the length of your hair at the time?
They didn't like any of that.
They didn't like that. And if I remember, you had some earrings and stuff going. Yeah.
Yep. So I had the rock
But
and roll look.
I just thought, this is just a badass I'm working with on the receiving dock at the Limited. I mean, how much testosterone can we get on this floor?
Yeah.
Kind of thing. Like those are the guys that we were at 20.
Yeah. Unloading trailers.
A lot of us were like going to school at Ohio State or wherever.
Yeah.
In those days. But my family was a big encouraging aspect in my life. But musically, I was a lost citizen until I really was forced to utilize time in my life that was no longer there. But for you, it sounds like you got early encouragement, through your family. Similarly, but
they were
like
glad
when
I got.
You were in there. You got a ticket and your dad helped you get out there.
They were really supportive.
Yeah.
And, one of the things is I did get my college degree. I kept thinking, man, I'm going to be able to quit college and sign a record contract. Never happened. So I did get my degree, and I think that's what made my parents really happy, because my dad was a master's degree. They were just
you weren't 30 yet.
No, that's true.
So he's like, okay.
But yeah, thank God my dad, helped me drive out to California and everything. And they even bought me a U.S. Toys license plate at one point. So, personalized vanity plate. So I'll give him credit for that. Now, it was US Toys, and I had to put my own
little dots.
Don't know if
that's so cool,
police
man.
ever saw that or whatever. But yeah, so they encouraged me, to follow my dream, I guess, and help me to do that.
Yeah.
And then music teachers really were, big on the musical side, because the music, I had great music teachers, back in Yorktown, Walnut Ridge High School, and so yeah, I learned a lot that way. And then just Keith, I mean
Keith Wells, he's been there with you as your partner, right?
Yeah, I mean we've been literally
rhythm section.
Yep, from the 70s and then 80s band and then the 90s band and now
now you're back
and now we're recording. We've been recording for like at least 10 if not longer years.
Oh my gosh.
So he's been I mean we hit it off great, and
and you're creative together. Yeah. Very creative, it seems.
And then the great thing, any bass player will attest to this, you have to play with a good drummer. If you're not playing with a good drummer, man, it's not even fun. So, and we've played so long, we can almost anticipate each other's mistakes. I mean, if somebody's going to be a little slower.
He's going to skip the third measure kind of thing.
He's coming a little late there, and I'm going to come in a little late there. I mean, we lock in so well. So that's really the joy. Of course, now we're doing drum machines, but that's going to be a new kind of joy that we're going to discover together and see what we can do on the drum and bass scene. So, or on our own little personal drum and bass scene.
Do you share with a little close group of people maybe that have interest in what you got going on? I'd love to be one of those.
Oh, certainly, yeah.
If that's something that you do.
Yeah. I mean, it's basically friends and family. I've just been too lazy to get around to posting it. But
love to.
Some of it's good. So, yeah, I'll definitely...
stuff that you'd like to,
Yeah. I mean, it is, it's truly a selfish endeavor at this point because I can write whatever I want. Mm-hmm. And it's just, total fun. And Keith's got the great studio, so I'm just lucky. I'm lucky to enjoy music in this sense. Now, I don't go out as much as I used to, but I live at Buckeye Lake, so I do get to see the bands at Buckeye Lake.
Oh, sweet.
I don't really make it to the city much. So that's the one downside. It's just, if the band starts at 9, okay, then I got a half hour to go home. So if they're done at even 10:30, then I got another half hour drive home, and it's no longer appealing. It's like
I get it. Do you operate out of your home then to run your real estate?
Yeah, we have an office in Westerville.
Yeah.
But so I'm in Columbus every day, or in Westerville every day, and then but I have a home office. So hey, real estate. I always said rock star's #1 career. If that doesn't work out, real estate's pretty darn good.
That's good advice, man. That's good. You're a good example of that, right? I mean, you guys are hopping. I know that.
Yeah. I mean, I'll just brag for a quick second. We were 16th last year, according to Business First, out of over 600 brokerages in Central Ohio. So, Sweet 16.
That's pretty damn fantastic, man. Yeah. Congratulations.
No, thanks. Yeah, that's the highest we've ever been ranked.
But I am equally intrigued by your music successes too, though, man. I mean, you're fortunate to have been able to interweave the two as well as you have, and done so well on your business endeavors as well as your music endeavors. I mean, my gosh, that's a pretty happy existence.
Yeah, I mean, I have no complaints. Whenever anybody, how you doing? It's like I can't complain about anything. I mean, I've got a pretty happy life, and I get my share of music, and I mean, music truly dominates my life. I mean, the minute I get in my car, I got a 30-minute drive every day, man. I've got the music going loud, and I just love that. And then a 30-minute ride home. I was literally on Spotify when they did a yearly recap. I was like in the top 16% of listeners, or 15% or something. Of Spotify, mainly because if I drive in your real estate, you drive a lot. If we're going show homes or so, I'm in my car all the time, and man, I got that Spotify fired up, and
wow.
It's just charmed life.
Streaming and dreaming.
Yep. So no complaints here. And we're gonna keep making music. Gonna keep going until can't do it anymore.
I know, that's a great attitude.
Yeah.
I feel energized by folks like yourself, still driving to create, and there's a common thread by so many that are part of this podcast, and so Doug, I really appreciate the fact that we have a personal story interweaved here too, which made me feel grateful, to have known you then and worked with you side by side, and pretty pretty serious, manual labor, unloading trucks for a couple of years while we went to school.
Yeah.
But to hear your story from that point forward it's just incredible, man. With your music, to the point where, shaking hands with someone like Ozzy, that's not too many people get that opportunity even to do any of that great stuff you did in California, and the stuff that you're doing even today. It's just really cool stuff. Giants among us. Who would have known?
I'll just give you one other. I just remembered one other LA thing that was really cool.
I'd love to hear it.
When you're out there, you hear about all the different. I mean, there's something happening every day in many places that's just mind blowing. That doesn't really happen in many other cities. But out there, Eddie Van Halen, Valerie Bertinelli had a cousin or somebody or whatever that played in a band, and they would play in Malibu. They played this one club, Malibu, and it was rumored that Eddie would go on and do a couple songs with them. So we went out there one time and thought, okay, we're going to see it. And when I was standing kind of by the side of the stage, and I look over, and here comes Eddie Van Halen. He literally walked 2 feet away from me, and he's one of my all-time heroes, if not ultimate music hero. But I literally saw him walk by, and then went up on stage and played, and and this was in the '80s when they were as big as it gets. Here he is on it. I'm literally 20 feet away in the club watching him on stage, and then I watched him walk right by me. It was just like, wow. That's one of those
feel
LA
the electricity, don't you?
Yeah, that's just one of those LA. That's only gonna happen in LA. But that it's reminded me when you were talking about shaking Ozzy's hand. That was my other favorite moment out there.
There's another favorite moment in LA. Yeah. How about in Columbus? Anything crazy happened in Columbus, Ohio, when you've been out there? All the gigs you've done out there through the years.
I mean, the usual
that you can talk about.
You got there were some more fun gigs than others. For other extracurricular activity kind of thing.
Yeah.
But there's one funny thing we did. Keith Pentard, the singer for U.S. Toys and the guitar player, Kiss was in town, and we went and saw Kiss. And because he had to DJ,
you get the inside track. Yeah,
but we went to their hotel, and we stayed. We felt like I'm a 16-year-old girl, for Donny Osmond or something. If I remembers Donny Osmond, but we were on their hotel. We waited for them to come back, and Gene Simmons and Paul Stanley walked out of the elevator. And here, we were all decked out in our, looking like trying to be rock stars, to give them a demo tape. And they both had girls with them, but they both are, really friendly. We said, hey, man, we got this demo tape. Can you listen to it? Tell us what you think. Oh yeah, man. Yeah, we'll do it. Yeah, we'll listen to it. We'll get back to you if you like it. Never heard back, but it was just
that's cool.
Yeah, it was like it kind of reminded me of the Eddie, that same general thing where we waited for Kiss on it, and they did come up, and they both had beautiful women with them, and so that was just a strange kind of story there. But
not at all. No, it's cool, man.
And
really cool.
We had, obviously we had tons of fun gigs. We did frat houses. We did all kinds of stuff. We did all kinds of parties. Probably one of the funnest things we ever had. We played at Mr. Brown's, which is a crappy club on the south side of campus, and we had like hardly anybody there. And then we went back home, and we're unpacking the stuff, and there was like 20 people that were gonna go, and they didn't go. Like, man, why didn't you guys go?
Yeah.
And so they said, well, just play here. Just play here for us. And we just got out, like bass and guitar plugged into one amp, and then Keith just had just one snare. I think he had like one cymbal, and then something for a kick drum. But we probably played for like an hour just on that little setup, and it was one of the most magical moments. Because we had to reconfigure whatever we were playing to that limited kind of set. And but yeah, the people it was just one of those magical moments that musicians live for, and
so cool.
Yeah, so that's
really cool.
Yeah, a lot of heartache out there too. A lot of gigs where you want it to go better than it did, or you hope that it's a stepping stone to something, because everybody's you play this gig for exposure. You don't get paid for this. It's exposure because you're opening for this band. We opened for Rosie and bands like that, and of course you don't get paid anything, but you hope for that exposure. So that's another memory from the 80s,
so
the
cool.
90s. Yeah.
You opened for Rosie.
Yeah.
Did you ever run across the Gods in the day?
Oh yeah, I mean we saw them and
all
stuff.
over the place.
Yeah, I mean I saw them numerous times, but we never got to over. I mean they were always at the next level. Like they would be playing the Newport or bigger than that, and we did play the Newport, but but later after that. But yeah, Gods were rock and roll machines.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they were great.
Yeah, I mean, as of this recording, the latest lineup. This is July of 2025, but if you're not doing anything Sunday out in Zanesville,
Yep.
at the at a venue that I don't recall exactly the name of it, but in Zanesville, there you can look at it on Facebook or online. But there, Beth and I are going to head out that way. I'll make sure we invite you to maybe join us or something.
It's like a 4 p.m. It's like an early show, right?
Early show. I think they're ahead. There'll be bands ahead of them. They'll I would imagine, and I don't know the time, but it'll be early. It'll be early evening.
Okay.
It won't be like at 1 a.m. Sunday.
Yeah.
Get home and drag out. Nothing crazy like that. It'll be early enough that it's a doable thing. And Zanesville's pretty close.
Yeah, I'd love to see this current lineup.
Yeah,
I've seen pictures of it, but never haven't.
Good stuff. Really good. Really
Yeah.
good. Really solid rock.
And rest in peace, Eric Moore. I mean,
Yeah.
man, he was he was like a rock star. I mean, his bass was so low that it's like, this guy could only reach the E strings. It's like he can't even reach that G string.
He didn't touch the high, the upper two.
Yeah, they just
Because it was just in the pocket. Boop, 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 boop. That's how that.
But it just
That's how that
freaked me
music
out. I mean,
rolls, man.
It was like
Right in
down
the pocket.
below his knees almost. It was just like crazy. But yeah, I love them. And then Danny Boyd, we actually played for him. It's still a buddy of mine. So he's a great drummer.
Cool. Very cool.
Yeah, he's in Florida now, so we're just Facebook friends at this point. And Eric Solomon, he was in that other band. He's out there playing. I don't know if you've heard of Eric, but he's a solo guitar player now. He's at Buckeye Lake all the time. He's everywhere all the time at this point.
Really cool. Yeah, and don't forget, man, I really want to hear your music too. I want to see what you're up to these days. That sounds really interesting.
Okay, I'll definitely I'll figure out a way to get it to you, and then I'm gonna make a point to get it on at least YouTube Music. I know I can do that.
All right, looking forward to it, man.
Okay.
Keep rolling with it. Keep doing it till you can't. That's what I say. Keep doing
music,
it.
Music brings so much joy that it's just, I mean, it's always joy. So
Good for you.
can't stop.
I'm glad it's still in your DNA, man. You're still doing it.
Yeah.
It's a heck of a story, though. I love that you shared that today.
Well, the one thing I noticed, between like Eric and a guy named Matt Avery, I don't know if he was another guy who played here, and he was in our band but there's a lot of people that are still doing it, and that's the true musician, and I have total respect for the people that are still doing it. You, Len, I mean, people that are still.
I really am grateful for what I'm doing, and I love it. I'm playing with some really, really, really talented folks. I look up to them. I really admire that. I admire someone like yourself, and then the talent that's really, on a higher plane on where I exist musically. I so admire, continuing to do it like yourself, 40, 50 years of investing in your instrument, in your musical creativity, and getting it, as long and hard as you can, because it's part of who you are.
Yeah.
And I feel I'm sort of one of those folks. I got a late start. Yeah. No regrets though, man. You get in the game when you can.
Absolutely.
You have to prioritize your life. And everybody's life is unique to them.
Absolutely,
it's really cool stuff. But I loved hearing your story from your voice, and from your memories, and sharing them, and seeing the big smile on your face with all the experiences that you talked about tonight.
That was fun sharing, man. Haven't had the opportunity to talk to people about this for 30 years. I don't know.
That's cool, though.
I've never done a podcast, so I guess never. But yeah, thanks for the invite. Man, this is great.
One final question, though, and it's kind of gear related, is you did your first full circle on basses. You have your share of BC Rich and your Fenders and your Rickenbackers, all across the board. Amplification for bass. Do you have a philosophy? Do you have a conclusion on tone?
Ampeg. That's
period.
It's one word answer. Ampeg. I went through the whole thing just like with the guitar or the basses. I mean, I had Mesa Boogie, I had Trace Elliott, I had all this like fancy stuff and separate power amps, Ashley preamps. I mean, I did everything, all kinds of gear. And when it ultimately boils down to is Ampeg gets the sound and
covers the frequency range that's necessary, right?
Yeah, and it's got their signature sound. I mean, a Fender P bass through an Ampeg, it's magic. I mean, that tone, nobody's going to have a problem with that tone, and anybody you're playing with. I mean, it's the magic tone, and I love Ampeg. So I'm literally considering getting an Ampeg tattoo. Because I just, it gets that sound for me. And Len, you got that the new Rocket 110 out there?
Yeah,
so.
Just for small, casual play.
Well, Mark Bass, you got the Mark Bass.
But
Mark Bass gets the job done.
It does get the job done, but it doesn't sound like the Ampeg.
No.
At all.
Well, I have a Mark Bass right now. I've got I can't remember, it's like a 300 watt, but it's a tiny one, one of those little like 2-pound things.
Yeah.
And,
yeah.
I mean, Mark Bass, I've got 2 amps, and I got Ampeg and I got a Mark Bass. So those are my 2 favorites. And
that's kind of where I am right now. It's kind of weird.
Yeah. Well, Ampeg, it's just like Marshall. I mean, Ampeg and Marshall can't go wrong.
Brains.
And then I mean, and then same with Strat and Les Paul when it comes to guitars. If you have a Strat and you have a Les Paul, you're set for life. You got the 2 sounds, and yep.
They can cover it all. I'll go Telly before Strat though.
Really?
Yeah, that's where I evolved. I don't know why. I don't know why. I think a Telly can hang with anything.
Yeah.
A Strat can get buried in the mix.
That's true. I mean, a Telly,
you can adjust your tone to contribute in any situation. The bell. I think the bell frequency curve of a Strat's just it is what it is typically.
Yeah, it's chimey. It doesn't really get as much meat usually.
A traditional one, right? Unless you're going more modern, then I think even with humbuckers and Strat bodies, that's a little different.
Yeah, I mean you can make it sound like anything you want, but the typical, the traditional, 3 humbuckers or 3 single coil Strat.
Yeah, I'm Telly over Strat. I really am. I'm just thinking about all that. But my favorite's Les Paul though. I got a couple of Les Paul studios.
Yeah, I started on Les Paul, and Les Paul, man, it just gets the job done.
But I approach guitar very differently than bass. It's a completely different instrument, different attack, different approach, different, inspirations, I think. Yeah. Different role.
Well, especially like if you play finger bass, which you do now, and I do now, when you play pick, your guitar and bass kind of gets, a little bit similar because you're using the same. But yeah, once you switch to fingers and pick on guitar, fingers on bass, yeah, it's a different world completely.
Right on.
So.
Yeah. All right, Doug Turlo. What else do you want to lay down here?
I just, once again, want to say thanks so much for reaching out and having me do this, and great seeing you after 38, 40, 42, whatever amount of years it's been. Long time. I mean, can't believe it's been that long. But,
it's a perfect example of why this podcast even exists. It's just pure, acknowledgement and admiration of the scene and people that are contribute in so many different ways. There's something out there for everyone.
Well, I'm glad, somebody
get involved, and do your best and see where you are and create stretch goals and get to the next spot for yourself that feels good for you. Don't compare yourself. Just be who you are and create the way that you feel you need to create. You don't have to be playing at certain club, or you might have that goal, but look at what's happening at these places. Is that really you?
Yeah. For me,
is it for you? For you, it's different today, right?
Yeah. I mean, I've got that selfish ability,
but very fulfilling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if I didn't have Keith twisting the knobs, then I'd probably have my own, do the computer thing or whatever and be writing songs.
Like the smack.
Yeah. Yep.
And the interfaces, all this stuff laying around here.
Yeah. And one day I might get to there, but right now I got a guy who will twist the knobs. I come with the parts, he twists the knobs, and we're good to go.
It's perfect.
So, yeah. Charmed life. I think somebody wrote a song like that.
Semi-charmed.
Yeah.
Yours is charmed.
Semi-charmed kind of life. Yeah.
Yours is definitely fully charmed.
Yeah.
Love to hear it, man.
Well, thanks again, Len, and really appreciate the opportunity.
Oh yeah, Doug Turlo, musician, Columbus, Ohio. look for his links to his business and some of his music, and hope everybody enjoyed listening tonight. Thanks for listening, and this is episode number 117. Doug Turlo signing off. Thank you all for listening. Goodbye.